Good morning and welcome to History Lesson 160. Today we're going to start by going over your homework you had yesterday. Let's see. Here we go, your homework. Yesterday you had page 237. It was chapter checkup 18, numbers 4 through 11. So number 4, which president began the interstate highway system? President Eisenhower. Number 5, who was the first man to walk on the moon? Neil Armstrong. Very good. And number 6, what country sought to spread communism around the world? The Soviet Union. Number 7, why were Americans so concerned when the Soviet Union placed missiles in Cuba? Cuba is only 90 miles. That's right. It's very close to Florida. So we were pretty scared. Let's see. Number 8, who became president after President Kennedy was assassinated? Good. It was his vice president, Lyndon Johnson. Number 9, why did President Johnson send American troops to South Vietnam? Did you read that? Yes, it was to protect South Vietnam. It was to protect them. All right. Number 10, how did Vietnam War end? Do you remember? You remember it said that President Nixon withdrew? He took the troops out and just said, that's it, we weren't going to fight anymore. And number 11, who was the first U.S. president to resign from office? Do you remember who that was? Good, it was Nixon. All right, we are going to do a quick review of what we have read so far in this chapter 18. Let's start here. Do you remember the court case that caused public schools to allow all students to and all races to join to go to the school? Brown versus Board of Education. Very good. And who was the first Japanese American congressman? Good. Inouye. Senator Daniel Ken Inouye. Who was the young minister who organized the civil rights campaign? Also, he had the I Have a Dream speech. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. And who was the first Black American Supreme Court Justice? Thurgood Marshall. Very good. Who's the first Japanese American woman to be elected to Congress? Mink. That's right. Representative Patsy Takemoto Mink. Very good. America's first Black cabinet member? Good. That was Weaver. And what was it that allowed for people to vote, have housing and job rights just for minorities? Good. It was the Civil Rights Act of 1964. Very good. A few more. Who was the president during 1953 to 1961? Yes, it was. It was Dwight Eisenhower. And what was Eisenhower's idea to make the interstate highway that connects each state together? That was the interstate highway system. And who was the first American to go into outer space? Daniel Shepard. Very good. Who's the first American to orbit the Earth, go around the Earth? Excellent, John Glenn. And who was the first man to step foot on the moon? Neil Armstrong. Very good. Okay, so that's what we have done so far. Today, we're going to talk on page 230 about the return to patriotism. On 230, it tells us about an election that two men were going up against each other. They were Ronald Reagan and Jimmy Carter. And it happened to be that Ronald Reagan won. He was the president during this time, and they called him the Great Communicator. They did this because he was a great speaker, okay? He was even trying to convince us that other countries should stop communism before they attack. We should go and try to stop them. And so he made up this doctrine called the Reagan Doctrine. And that Reagan Doctrine was an idea that became very well known, and it was from Reagan. He had this belief that communism should be stopped before it could attack before they could attack and enslave a country. So we need to stop them. Basically, not just ignore them and don't do what they're doing, but stop them. And so the communist country of Cuba was going to take over this little tiny island called Grenada. They were about to take over them, and the United States stepped in. President Reagan sent out American troops to liberate those people in that little island of Grenada, because they were being taken over by the communists. So there was a man named Mikhail Gorbachev, and he was the president of the Soviet Union during this time. And it says in your book on page 230 that Gorbachev promised to reduce Soviet weapons strength to free enslaved nations of Eastern Europe. And he was going to stop encouraging communism, the communist revolutions throughout the world. He was going to basically be on the side of Reagan and help him to kind of eradicate communism. So they were going to be on the same side as is what they're saying. So go ahead and read pages 230 to 231. It's very short. You're going to answer the questions on page 231. There's just two about the comprehension check 18D, just two questions. And you're going to read those pages. I don't think I changed the page numbers, but you're going to read pages 230 and 231 and answer those questions. We will see you back tomorrow for another lesson. Have a great day.